Hey everyone, this is Carbonite bringing you another Vanguard match. This time we have a premium match between Ethan on the left playing DP and myself on the right playing Bigbelly. So it looks like I'm going to be going first. I do remember in this opening hand I had, I believe, 2 PGs as well as the Diligent Assistant Mini Belly, which is the G1 which searches out the grade 3. So I actually end up riding into the Deli Belly because I want to keep that mini belly because I don't have the big belly left in my hand at this point. And if you do not ride your big belly, you might remember from the last match I posted about this, you do kind of just auto lose. So I ride into the Deli Belly, and wouldn't you know it, off the starter skill, I draw into the famous Professor Big Belly. This just happens to me way too much. Anyways, getting into the actual match, looks like we are actually going to be riding the original Laurel. So it's going to be a 4K. He's going to swing. It is a trigger to pass, so I'm not really stressing about it. But then he hits a critical trigger, and I go to 2, just like in my match against Alexis, which is just like really funny. Anyways, passing to me, I do get the ideal ride target. I ride into the Spool Mary. I do call out the token generator, which is that rear guard on the side that you can't really see thanks to the glare. This is a DP match, so I don't really care about giving him CB. CB just kind of means like maybe an extra Daizoras in addition to his usual Dimat Glass. But honestly, my aim here is to like push as much as possible as quickly as I can. Just get him up to that high damage so that I can, when it comes to my push turn, I can actually like do things. So he's going to be using the sludge monster. I forget his name at the moment. I'm going to choose not to counterblast because I really do value my resources in this deck, and I'll just let him get the extra draw. But moving into my first grade 3 turn, it is looking pretty good for me, honestly. He's sitting at a 9k base, and I do already have the Spool Mary that got called out from being ridden over. I called another Mini Belly, this time the V version, and we're going to be calling a Mika Saburo and using that skill to place the skill onto the plant girl. So it looks like we're just going to be swinging using the Spool Mary. Its skill is going to pump itself up to 24, as well as giving an extra 10k to the Vanguard, hitting a very nice magic number of 24. So he's just going to be taking that. Then we're going to be swinging with the plant girl. This is going to be 23, which is not as nice of a magic number, but it is still calling for a 15-point shield, which looks like we are going to be guarding it with just a trigger. Yep. And then swinging the Vanguard, using the skill once again because Spool Mary is at a pretty good number, 24. And we do obviously want her to retire, so we can get that draw. We're going to be calling a Heal Guardian, actually using the neg2 crit, which I'm not a huge fan of. I mean, it doesn't matter as much if you're going to be taking this Spool Mary. It kind of just guarantees you the no damage from the Vanguard. But I think 10k would have been just fine. Because, let's see, that would have been 24, 34. That would have been, well, I guess that would be a 1 to pass. So maybe the neg2 crit really was the better play. So anyways, just going to be using our usual end phase shenanigans, retiring the Flower Girl, calling out those 2 plant tokens, and then searching out Heal Guardian, as well as drawing the 2 cards because 2 units were retired. So moving into my next turn, I do have a little bit of a plan. In this matchup, you really do have to be considering how many cards you have in hand. And honestly, it's mostly just to play around Diarm. But you can really effectively play around Diarm if you play your cards correctly. Which unfortunately, as you're going to see in this next coming turn, I honestly really don't. But it looks like Ethan's going to be riding into that Diarm, getting a Force 1 and placing it on the Vanguard circle. And it looks like we'll just be discarding a Daizoras for that stride. Going into the typical Geo Maglass first stride. So it looks like we're calling out double Daizoras, which is a pretty standard play. Like I said, the only thing that really matters is about giving DP CB is it basically just turns on the Daizoras, and it doesn't really do that much. And you do want them to be at high damage, especially early, because as the game goes further and further on, their grade 3s do become bigger and bigger shields. So I think right here we're going to be seeing my first misplay. This is going to be a 1 critical swing for about, let's see, I think it's 18 or 28. Or not 28, 23. So I decide to actually take this My rationale behind that was he's going to be swinging with a massive crit Vanguard, and I will probably not have to PG that. So I was thinking, oh, I should take a damage here because I want to have at least 3 damage in the next turn, going into my next turn, so that I can do my plays to maximum efficiency. So I decided to just take the safe attack, but we're going to see that that's a really big misplay. Even though I do get a defensive, he's actually going to be swinging at my token next, and I have 2 options here. So the first option, which honestly I should have done, is I can All Mirage here and reduce the number of cards in my hand, so that if he calls Die Arms off that Geo Maglass, he's going to be missing out on that extra 30k. However, I go for the other option, which is to basically bolster my hand by going into Ardeo, retiring my board, and then just drawing 4 more cards so that I have enough defense in order to actually block those Die Arm attacks. Which, this is Great Nature. I can totally just block the Die Arm effects, or the Die Arm attacks. But at the same time, we are expending a lot of resources to do that. So honestly, just going for the All Mirage play, I would have protected the token. It would have gotten hit, but it could not retire. So honestly, that would have been the better play instead of just trying to bolster my hand and digging for more pieces. Because as you can see, he is going to be going for the double Die Arm, and it's going to be giving a plus 60k to the front row. And I am already at 4, which means that if he hits 2 crits off of this drive check, I cannot take either one of those swings. As I was saying before, instead of taking that first swing, I really should have, since I was at 3, just anticipated him getting a critical and placing it on one of the rear yards he took, so that I could take one of those. And it doesn't really matter if I'm at 4 or 5, I just need the 3 CB. So it does kind of suck being at 5, but I think being at 5 in this situation would have been a lot better than just sticking around at 4. Because as we're going to see, he's going to be getting he's going to have 5 checks. First check is going to reveal a critical trigger. Second is going to be a heal, which is actually going to go off. I mean, even if I did the other play, it would have gone off because I would have been at 3. But I would be a little bit better situation. We're going to see Die Arm, Dailiner, and another critical. That means because I took that damage earlier in the turn, both of these rear guards are going to be swinging for lethal, and I cannot take any of them. If he hadn't gotten the double crit, I would have at least been able to take one of them and go to 5, which I wouldn't mind. Honestly, like I was saying, I'd rather just, like, if I was still at 3, I would have taken one of them in order to get to 5, because all I need is 3 open CB. And as we see, the Bigbelly is going to give me that extra CB. But unfortunately, I am going to make another misplay Guardian here. So I believe in my hand, I still do have another Heal Guardian as well as a Bigbelly. So what I'm thinking of doing is I can Spangled away some of my cards, draw new ones, and then just Bigbelly to PG the second one. But I think I did the order wrong, but I'm not entirely sure what I had in my hand, so maybe I just did what I was able to do. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. So as you can see here, after much deliberation, I decide to just mini Bigbelly, just discarding a card to PG it. And once again, if I'm going to be using the skill, I don't get the counter charge. I do get the draw, but if I had gone for the Spangled there, especially since this was a smaller swing, I would have counterblasted 1, and then if I PG the second swing, I would have been able to just get that counter charge back, so it wouldn't have even mattered. I would have had so much more counterblast to work with. But as you can see here, I am going to be going for the Spangled, guarding with OT, the Flower Girl, Mike Saburo, 2 more grade 1 shields, as well as the Spangled. So I am not necessarily minusing with this exchange, but I am committing a whole bunch of cards just to guard this attack that's already at like 10,003. I mean, I do get a filter a little bit, which is the positive. And as you can see, I am going to be counterblasting for that Spangled, which, as I said, I do only need the 3 CB to do my plays next turn, and I do get a filter for more pieces. But at the same time, that is just like a huge investment, not only to my hand, but to my deck, which, if you've ever played Bigbelly, you know that deck out is a pretty big problem in the deck. So moving into my next turn, he does have Ethan has a huge hand. So my plan here is to basically chip away as much as possible into that hand. So we're gonna be rewriting, thankfully, discarding I think that was a crit first stride. And I am going to be going into Catarus because I do have the Talented Rhinos in hand. Unfortunately, Talented Rhinos is essentially useless against this matchup because all of DP's shield value is found in their grade 3s, and Talented Rhinos only prevents grade 0s from coming out from hand. So the mentality going into this turn is use Catarus to restand the Talented Rhinos and then restand it a couple times with Crayon Tigers. Even though it's not that threatening, the idea is to get him to commit as many grade 3s from hand, basically overguarding with these 20k shields in order to block the Talented Rhinos' multiple swings. So this turn I'm just trying to get as many cards out of hand as possible. As we can see, I believe that is a 2 Crayon Tigers on the field. We're going to be calling a crit. I believe it was my best booster at this point. Calling the token generator just because for an attacker, and calling out a Mikasaburo. Pushing it up to the front in order to give it the Catarus is plus 10k and retire at the end phase so that I can at least leave my little Crayon Tiger there for next turn in case I get there. But we are going to be swapping it back, of course, and looks like we're just going to be moving into battle. Of course, almost forgetting to use that Mika Saburo skill. Actually just going to be putting onto Plant Girl like always because she is the first card that retires during the end phase. So we are going to be swinging with the Talented Rhinos. It is at 30 because of its skill and Catarus, meaning it does hit that threshold for the Catarus skill. Right now it is just going to be preventing grade 0s. I am swinging at Vanguard. I think, honestly, the better play probably would have been to just swing at the rear guards because those grade 3s do have intercept, and it is a way to get around the guard restrict. So even though he probably would have just guarded it with a 20k shield, so it doesn't mean as much as swinging at the Vanguard, but honestly, trying to take out those rears should have been a bigger priority for me during this turn, just because I completely forgot about the intercept, and intercept is one thing that really helps you get around guard restrict. So we're going to be swinging with the Vanguard. Looks like it's just going to be PG'd, discarding just the quick shield, and unfortunately I don't think we get to see my drive checks here, but if I recall, they were all 3 blanks, because as we can see, I don't assign any power or anything. Honestly, what I was hoping for was hitting at least 1 or 2 crits. That way, even though he is at 3, all of these attacks are swinging for lethal, meaning that he does have to guard all of them. And once again, as I was saying, I just want to get as many cards out of hand as possible. I'm not really intending to win here. As we see, he is just going to be intercepting for 33, just because it is just a 30. Thankfully, with this Crayon Tiger swing, it is getting an extra 4k, meaning that he can't just intercept with the other one because it is going to be only a 33 guard, and we are swinging for 34. So this Crayon Tiger is going to be swinging in for 26, just going to be guarded with a trigger. Swinging 25, I believe this one's going to the Vanguard again, and once again, I think it's a misplay. I think we should have just tried to go for the second die arm, at least take out that intercept, make it a little bit harder for him when he's trying to guard the other attacks. That's going to be calling out a grade 3. So swinging once again with the Talented Rhinos. This is going to be a 34, which means that one intercept is not going to be enough to do it. The other plan is I also wanted to get out his heal guard-ins because I do know that's the other way to get around guard restrict. At least try and get them out. Unfortunately, DP does have almost Great Nature quality G-guards with that. Well, that one G-guard is almost the same quality as like Great Nature G-guard, so he is going to be able to add back the 2 die arms, which especially against me, since I already have a ton of cards in hand. I believe right now I have like 7, and I'm going to be drawing a bunch during the end phase, so I could theoretically just draw into 9 with a double Crayon Tiger and then decide to skip the other effects because Bigbelly is an optional draw, in case you didn't know. But we are going to be swinging with the second Crayon Tiger. It's just going to be blocked. It is a 23, I believe. So just another trigger to guard it. And then we are going to be swinging with the last swing of the Talented Rhinos. This time it is hitting for 38, which is a very nice magic number. But unfortunately, he does have the second G-guard, which is not only going to give him more cards in hand, but it is just getting around that guard restrict. So I swung 3 times with guard restrict, and all 3 times it was blocked without calling a single card from hand. Honestly, in this situation, there isn't really any reason to block this attack other than just like to get those cards back. Just because you are at 3 if you're the DP player. I think he has like 1 open CB, which kind of does limit your plays a little bit. It kind of means you can't die Zoras that much. You can only use like 1 if you're going to be going, or you can't use any if you're going into the Geo Maglass. But anyways, moving into this end phase, I do have a ton of skills that are going to be proccing, searching with Amike Saburo and drawing 6 cards. So I think if I had played my cards better last turn and kind of gone for the Almirage play, keep my hand low, I wouldn't have had to commit so many cards to the die arm swings. And especially if I had been able to take one, at this point I would still have 1 open CB if I had guarded differently, if I had played my cards better. And even if he had the 2 die arms, which we know he added back off of the G guard, I think that all the guard that I used last turn would have been going into this turn, and I would have been able to probably survive this next swing. Because even though I do have a ton of cards in my hand, as you can see right there, my deck size is getting pretty low, which means that my reverse stacking strategy with the I forget the one random one. If you know Great Nature, you know what I'm talking about. But my reverse stacking is getting pretty close to being live, especially if I draw some more cards during this battle phase. But I do have to survive this turn. I do have a ton of cards in hand, probably somewhere around 15 or 13. But obviously he is going to be calling out those 2 die arms, giving another 60k to the front row, meaning that a lot of these attacks are going to be very difficult to actually block. So we're just going to be swinging with that Geo Maglass, using the skill to search the top 7 or something. I don't know. I know what Geo Maglass does. I don't know its number. I think it's top 7. Anyways, just calling out the 2 grade 3s, probably just for the power and critical. And looks like this is just going to be met with that Elementario free PG. I was keeping it in hand just in case I saw a Linka, but obviously as we see, he doesn't really see any. Well, there's Linka getting a stand trigger. Kind of meaningless considering these swings are already like at 1000k or whatever, and we're going to see another critical, giving it to the die arm. My one saving grace is hoping he doesn't get a double critical so that I can at least take one of these die arm attacks, but as we see here, he does hit the double critical, which means both of these attacks are swinging for lethal. And unfortunately, I did search out my last heal during the last turn. You could probably make an argument that maybe I should have left it in deck, but at the same time, I was drawing 6 cards. So there was a pretty decent chance that I would have just drawn into it. In any case, I think I have enough cards in hand to guard one of these attacks, but it doesn't really matter because as soon as I take one, I'm just going to be losing. The other option I would have had, if I had any open CB, like if I hadn't wasted that Dailiner, or if I'd actually gone to 5 instead of 4, I could have gone into my Perfect Guard G Guard and blocked at least one of the attacks and maybe hard guard the other one. Use that last CB to counterblast one, and then just do that, and then I can go into my reverse stacker because that just uses soul and it doesn't really need any CB. But in any case, this is going to be the end. I'm just going to be looking to see if there's actually any option, but at this point I really don't think there is. A little bit of a spoiler, but the top card of my deck actually was a trigger, so if I had gone into the new G Guard from 2023, or not 2023, 2022, I would have actually been able to get that perfect guard effect. But I'm just counting out if I can actually guard this, and as I said, I think I can actually guard one of the attacks, but they are swinging for big numbers. We're talking like, well, let's see, 60 and then plus another 15 from Geo Maglasses is 28, 83, 93, and 98. So it is possible to block one of them, as I said, but honestly, especially after using my OT, I just like lost so much of my guard value, so I'm just not going to be able to guard this. So yeah, that's just going to be the end of the match. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and do all that YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.